Hey everybody, happy Friday. So today's video is actually a tutorial. It was requested a while back for me to give a tutorial of my resin farm, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. Hope this is something valuable to you all, and if so, please like, subscribe, all the normal stuff. So first off, we have to build a platform for our trident killer, although in this case, it's not actually going to be doing the killing, so to speak. It's just going to be damaging the creaking enough to, so that resin shows up on the trees above. So anyhow, we're going to set the 4 pistons in this configuration, offset from each other in a square, then put the redstone torches on the sides. If you've never made one before, this is the basic trident killer setup, at least the one that I've always made anyway. Then place observers on the sides of each of the redstone torches so that the arrow is pointing at the next piston. So that's going to complete the circuit so that it'll continue to activate once it has been activated. Now, take your trident, throw your trident at the piston in the back, and then we will make a redstone connection here. And you can make the redstone path essentially as long as you want to, but for the sake of the farm, I do recommend going a minimum of like 20 blocks away. I typically try to do a full 30 blocks or so. So that being the case, you will need one repeater on this redstone circuit. So once you have the path built all the way to where you need it, place your lever there, and then connect the redstone circuit all the way to the trident killer. And somewhere along the way, once that redstone signal gets weak enough, and I think a redstone signal travels 15 blocks, so you can go that far before you need to actually place a repeater down, then do so. It'll light up as long as it's receiving redstone signal, and then you can connect it here, and then your trident killer should activate. Make sure it activates before you continue with the farm. Go back, hit the lever, and ensure that it's actually going. And as we can see, it is. So we'll shut this off, and then we'll proceed with the next step. All right, so we're going to build up a wall around this so that the creaking cannot escape. So I'm going to put 2 blocks on top of the trident killer floor so that it's essentially 3 blocks tall, so that way they can't get out, for sure. And let's see, we're going to continue to build up. And then once we get to this height, we're going to build a platform out. So from this square, you'll go 8 blocks out in each direction. And then you'll connect all of it, fill in the outline just to make one large square with that square hole directly in the middle. Now, the reason we want it 8 blocks out is because of the water that we're going to be placing in. So we want the water to go up to that hole, but not pouring into the hole. So that's the reason we've got to do it that way. Okay, so now that you have that platform built, then we're going to build up a wall around it. So we're going to start this way and just go ahead and build that wall all the way around. And once you get the wall built all the way around this platform, we're going to make it an additional block high. And then in every corner, you're going to do this. You're going to put a kind of an L shape in each corner. So exactly like that. And you have to do that every single corner, because that's going to help the water to flow correctly toward the center of the farm. Okay, and once that's done, then we're going to go ahead and build this wall up an additional 2 blocks tall. So you'll want it to be a total of 3 blocks high. And that just prevents the creaking from escaping should they land on that little elevated portion. You know, you don't want them to be able to walk out of the farm. All right, and once you've done that, you will want to go ahead and make yourself an infinite water source, because you're going to need a bunch of water. So we're going to start by putting water on every, you can get away with every other block, I think, but every block here between each of the L shapes in the corners. Do not put it in the middle of that L shape. Skip that and then go to the next wall. Do the same thing along each wall. And then once each of those walls has been, the water has been placed, then you'll place the water on top of the L shape, just like this, right there. It's got to be right there on each of the 4 of them. And then if you're in survival, which I'm hoping you'll be playing in survival for this farm, you'll want to give yourself a way out. So just drop a couple blocks in, blocks that you don't care to lose. Create yourself a staircase out, and then you can break those once you get to the top. So now once you're up here, we're going to build the spawning layer of the farm up 2 blocks high. And if you're going to build it any higher than that, make sure you put slabs around the edge of that bottom layer, because you want to make sure the creaking don't spawn on that. But if it's 1 block above, like 1 block space between, then you're okay. But this particular platform is kind of unique. It has to be pretty specific. It's going to overlap that wall on 2 sides, but only on 2 sides. So it's going to be an odd number of blocks. So anyway, this is how it has to be built. And you'll probably notice that I started that outline incorrect. So ensure that it's overlapping on 2 different sides, and then you'll be okay. You'll see me correct it at the end of this. So from one side, count 2 spaces, and on the 3rd space, put a block. And do that the whole distance of one side. And this is for your trapdoor section, so the creaking will fall through. Okay, and as you can see here, because I initially made it incorrectly, I'm going to have to break this one side and set it out an additional block to the outside. So right here, I'm correcting that mistake. Okay, so now that I've corrected that, I can put this last little block in here for the trapdoor openings. And so this is how it's going to be. You're going to make a grid with this outline. You're going to make a grid just like that. So 2 blocks spaced this way, and keep going. Like, you can build that all the way across and then fill in a grid-like formation, like I said a minute ago. Okay, and once you have that grid built up here, then you're going to start the next portion, which is going to be the daylight sensors. So pick a side, and then you'll want to build out a couple blocks, place your daylight sensors, because this is going to be what activates your trapdoors. Okay, and when you place the daylight sensor, invert it to rather than activating in daytime, you want it to activate at nighttime. And so on one side, you're going to alternate the placement, just like so. So through one side, you'll place 3 blocks out, place the daylight sensor, switch it to night mode, and then go down to the other end. And once you've done the 4 on one side, you'll jump to the other, and the space between that you didn't do on the opposite side, you'll place those. So for this, it should be 3 on one side, 4 on the other. Hopefully that makes sense. You can watch what I'm doing, and that'll make more sense than what I stated verbally. So anyway, make sure all of them are set to night mode for activation at night. Then you will put a redstone trail. What I do is I'll set the redstone through the first trapdoor segment, place a repeater, and then continue down to the end of the last trapdoor opening, and that'll make sure that all of them open. And that's all you'll need to do, and you'll want to do that for every single daylight detector in just that way. So as long as all of them are set to where they'll all activate, that'll be good. So when you finish that, we're going to build a wall around the outside to ensure that the creaking don't fall to the outside of the farm, because we want them to fall only in toward the trapdoor holes. So I'm using fence. You can use fence or wall, either one you prefer, whatever building material you're using. We're going to build it all the way around the outside edge. And of course, you're not going to be able to put the fence over top of where the redstone lays, but that's okay. We're going to address that a little bit later on. But as long as the fence is all the way around the outside, that's the first thing. Now, next thing we're going to do is go ahead and place the iron trapdoors in each of these openings. And you can place them, honestly, however you want. If you want to do one hole at a time, that's fine. I usually go one direction at a time and then switch around and do it the other way. That's just kind of the way I think is easiest. But as long as all the iron trapdoors get placed correctly, then you're good to go. Make sure they're on the top edge of the inside of each of these blocks. And then that'll be exactly what you want. Okay, and it should look like this once you're finished with that. And so the next part, like I mentioned, we're going to place some slabs on top of this wall, just to ensure that the creaking don't spawn on the fence or anything like that. We're going to make sure those bottom slabs are placed so that they can't escape or can't spawn on the fence. All right, now, next thing, we have to place the trees, so the pale oak trees with the creaking hearts, so that the creaking will actually spawn. So we'll build a temporary platform, 2 blocks with 2 blocks space from this other platform. All right. So once you get here, go ahead and build yourself a perimeter, and you don't need to fill the entire thing in, but I will show you the formation of how it needs to sit. Okay, so this temporary platform is going to be how we place the pale oak trees. So this is a pretty important step. So you'll want the blocks situated just like so, because you're going to want to place the trees in this formation. And I'm doing them in this particular like plus shape formation, just to maximize the amount of space that the resin can generate on. So that's why we're doing it this way. You're welcome to do it differently, but I feel like this is the best way to maximize your resin output for this farm. And as you can see, I'm ensuring that I put 1 block of space between every tree. And obviously you want to do that because that's going to be how the resin will spawn on each tree. So that allows for you to be able to mine it off of the trees once it is generated there. Okay, and once we have all of the tree bases started around the outside, we'll want to fill those in on the inside as well. So again, account for the 1 block space between, and then create the T shape or the plus shape for the interior pale oak trees. Okay, so once you finish that, this is how the outline should look. And then we're going to get creaking hearts to place in the center of each one of these. And I know it might seem like a lot of creaking hearts. Now, you don't have to mine every single one that you use. You can actually craft a creaking heart with a pale oak log and resin. So you're going to need 25 of them for this farm, and then we're going to build up the trees around them. Got to make sure the log placement is correct so that they will activate with one facing up, or one log facing up beneath the creaking heart and another log facing up above the creaking heart. Again, if they're not placed in that formation, the creaking heart will not activate. So that's very crucial. But then we're going to put the logs around the trees, and that's what you should look like. Or that's what it should look like when you're finished. And I'm going to place slabs on top of each of these so we can prevent the creaking from spawning on top of the trees, because we want to isolate the creaking spawn area to the platform below. Okay, so now this is what it should look like once you're finished. And then we're going to go down here and remove this temporary platform, because that does not need to stay there. The creaking will need the 3 blocks of space to spawn, because they are a slightly taller mob. So we've got to make sure that we remove these blocks. Okay, so once the temporary platform for the trees has been removed, your farm should look like this. I'm doing a quick fly around to make sure that yours looks like it's been built correctly, so you can compare if you want. Okay, so since creakings do have a 32 block spawn radius from their creaking heart that they're attached to, you want to make sure that your control area and anywhere else, like next to the trident killer, make sure that those areas are slabbed so that you don't have creaking spawning, or other mobs. They're not going to spawn on the redstone path, so don't have to worry about that. But then I recommend building a pillar with ladders, just so you can access up here. And full disclosure, if you don't have elytra or rockets, rockets to go with the elytra, then you're going to have a hard time getting out of here. So you can always bring some temporary blocks with you so you can get out of the spawn platform. But there's a heads up for you. Recommend doing this once you have elytra, or just be prepared to bring temporary blocks with you. So you can climb up the ladders, go ahead and put a slab up here. That'll prevent anything from spawning on top of this. Then you can jump into the spawning platform. And I recommend putting some torches up here, just making sure this is lit up so that any other basic mobs are not going to spawn. You're not going to have creepers or skeletons or zombies spawning up here, because that will obviously interfere with your work. So go ahead and make this lit up. The torches are not going to prevent creaking from spawning, because their spawning is dictated by the creaking hearts and not light levels. Okay, so now we're ready to test the farm to make sure it works. Obviously, with it being the creaking, has to be after sunset. And as you can see from where I'm stationed, creaking are going to spawn. Because the daylight detectors are set to night, those trapdoors are going to open, and then the creaking will fall through, and the water stream will push them directly to the trident thing. And then resin will generate once they're being hit by the trident. You can see the resin popping up on a few trees here. Then once you turn off the farm in daytime, you can jump back up onto the spawning platform. And I do recommend using a fortune pickaxe. Go ahead and pull the resin off the trees. And as you can see, even without having run the farm for a long time, I only ran it for maybe like 90 seconds, I'm still ending up with quite a bit of resin. This is a good farm. I love this, and I appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up and a like and share. And I appreciate you guys. We will see you on Monday for more content.